snap. Pumps once, throws. He's got Daniels there. Daniels with the catch, and Denver's got a touchdown. Owen Daniels, west sideline of the south end zone, makes the catch, and the Broncos in front now, 13-6.
Broadcasting live from the Bay Area, it's After Hours with Amy Lawrence.
Wow, the AFC and NFC Championship Sunday feels like a long time ago. It's about this point in the build-up to the Super Bowl that I always get extremely bored with it. But we keep talking about it. I just did an interview on a news station, a sister station here in San Francisco, KGO, which is in the same building as KNBR, where we're doing our show. And they wanted to talk about Super Bowl breakdown and offense versus defense and Cam and Peyton. So I know some people are still really into the pregame. I'm just ready for kickoff. It's After Hours with Amy Lawrence, CBS Sports Radio, CBSSportsRadio.com. Dave Logan will be one half of the local radio broadcast. So he's the voice of the Denver Broncos. And, of course, Mick Mixon is the voice of the Carolina Panthers. We'll get highlights from them as we head through the show as well. We had a lot of great guests on Radio Row on Thursday. It was by far the most congested day of the three that we've spent on Radio Row, and it was our Hall of Fame day. So we start off our interviews that you can hear on the show with, well, a Hall of Fame quarterback, Troy Aikman. Check out the picture, After Hours, CBS. And I started out by asking Troy, in the midst of all of the fans who wanted to get his picture and have a chance to talk to him about the craziness there on Radio Row and how different it was from when he played, but then his experience going through it now as a member of the media and a Hall of Famer.
It's pretty incredible. Of course, as a player, when I was in the game, you don't get exposed to this side of it. But I was just commenting to somebody, when you look at all that goes into hosting a Super Bowl, all of the preparation that the Super Bowl committee had to go through, and you prepare for Media Row and all that's required there, and how different it looks today compared to, say, 20 years ago, and the attention to this game. And it's pretty awesome. I mean, it makes me feel good to be a part of this sport, the NFL, the popularity of it, and it's been a lot of fun being here in San Francisco.
The negative storylines obviously get a lot more attention, but then you see fourth quarter Patriots-Broncos, 63 million people tune into that one fourth quarter. Why is the NFL so popular and unstoppable?
It's reality TV, without the scripts, and it is remarkable that being in television for the last 15 years, and I keep wondering, when is it going to end? I mean, when are the increases in ratings going to stop? And it just continues. And, I mean, you got to believe just mathematics. You'd say, okay, well, it just cannot continue, but yet it does. And at a time when our sport is really, I guess, in a lot of ways at a crossroads, and with all the attention to the concussions and player safety and everything with regards to that at the grassroots level, kids and their participation, but yet people love watching the game, and it's an interesting dynamic, to say the least.
Glad you brought up the concussions. Every player I've talked to, every former player I've talked to, that's something that is on his mind. Everybody's talking about the safety. We have players who are retiring earlier because now they're healthy. They played a few years. They made some money. They don't want to end up having health problems long term. How does the NFL attention to that compare to when you played?
Well, it's far different. I was talking earlier. I had a concussion in the NFC Championship game. Still to this day, I have complete amnesia from having played in that game. Spent the night in the hospital. There was not the bye week between the championship game and the Super Bowl that year. And I played the following week in a Super Bowl against the Buffalo Bills. And obviously in today's game, that wouldn't happen. You'd be sitting out. So I think great strides have been made. When I retired, no one even really knew what potentially the long-term effects of concussions were. So there's been a lot of progress made in that regard. I think the league really has done just about all they can do within the game to try to make it safer. But it is certainly a concern, and it's an issue. I mean, like I said, there's parents out there trying to make decisions as to whether or not they're going to let their kids play, what this game looks like. We talk about what the Super Bowl looks like 20 years ago as compared to today. What is our sport going to look like 20 years from now? Forget whatever the Super Bowl media attention may be to it. So I'm as interested in it as anybody. Football's been a great game to me. I feel like even though people do talk about the head injuries that I suffered, I feel like I was one of the lucky ones who got out healthy and still to this day, 15 years removed from having played my last game, still as healthy as I can possibly be. So hopefully that will continue for me and for many others that are in the same state.
Does it worry you? Because Warren Moon said after his 6 concussions, it worries him a little bit that maybe 10 years down the road he might start to have symptoms.
Yeah, it would be naive of me to say that it's not anything that I don't ever think about, but yet because I don't have any of those symptoms, it's just really not on my mind all that much. And yet I have former teammates and former players that I've played against that are in a much different state, and they're experiencing different things. And so hopefully we can continue to make strides. The league can continue to improve the safety of the game, and then hopefully with the equipment, the improvement of the helmets or whatever it may be. But I just don't think we're ever going to eliminate, certainly the injuries and much less the head injuries.
Hall of Fame quarterback Troy Aikman here with us on Radio Row. Let's talk about the 2 quarterbacks in this Super Bowl. Couldn't be more opposite ends of the spectrum. Cam, early in his career, a physical specimen. So he's come so far in just the 5 years. What impresses you about the way Cam is running that offense?
Well, I just think he's where he probably should be in his 5th year. As you come into the league, you're young, you're trying to find your way, you're being asked to be a leader because that's what the position requires, but yet you haven't earned that, right to be the leader yet. And then as you move through and you start having some successes, then you're able to take control more readily of the team. And last year at the end of the season, they got more into some of the no-huddle stuff, something he's very comfortable with. He obviously plays with reckless abandon in terms of being able to run the football, but he's been throwing the ball exceptionally well. And I think he's made much improvement in that area. And I really think that that's why he's had the year that he's had. As great of a weapon as he is running the football, it's what he's done throwing the football that has impressed me the most. It's been remarkable. I've got a vote for All-Pro team and MVP and all that. And he was my vote for the MVP of the league this year, and my guess is he'll win it. It will be well-deserved, and I'm looking forward to watching him play on Sunday. And for a young player, you always kind of wonder how they're going to handle that stage. I think Cam Newton was born for this stage. Anyone who has watched Cam just in pregame warm-ups realizes that he loves the spotlight. And so he's going to be more than ready, and I expect him to play well.
Do you understand the controversy surrounding him and some of the polarization that happens when people talk about Cam?
Not really. I really don't. I've covered a lot of his games, certainly through the postseason as well. And I've said it many times in our broadcasts that I take no issue with what he does, and I am old school, and if I thought that he was showing up an opponent, I would take exception to it. But I think he's enjoying himself. He wants to have fun. He certainly is. I know back home in Texas, where my girls go to school, my young kids, every boy on that campus is wearing Under Armour and wanting to be like Cam Newton. And it is a different time. That wasn't. Celebrations were not a part of the game in the 60s, and not much even into the 70s and going forward. The game has changed in a lot of ways. Is that for the better? Maybe, maybe not. But I think the celebrations certainly have changed. And what I do see is a guy who, when they score touchdowns and he hands the ball off to one of these young kids, and like I said, having young daughters of my own and knowing what those moments mean to these young people, I think it's great. I think he's been great for our sport.
You know where Peyton is now health-wise. You've been there at this, twilight of your career, and yet wanting to do this one last big game. What do you see with him?
I just see a great competitor, and unfortunately, whether it was, Joe Montana or John Elway or Johnny Unitas, Joe Namath, there's a long list of great players over the years that, if you're going to play as long as you can possibly play, then you're going to hit years where it's a struggle. And for him physically, it clearly has been a struggle for him. But yet to be able to come back from the neck surgeries and continue to play is pretty remarkable in itself. And, who would have imagined that the Broncos would be in this game probably, a month ago, and that Peyton Manning would be the starting quarterback if they did make it. So I'm a friend of Peyton's. I think the world of him. He's meant so much to our game. It would sure be nice. I probably speak for most of America outside of the people in Carolina that, there's a soft spot for all of us, and would love to see Peyton Manning go off on the white horse and end his career just like his boss John Elway did. It would be pretty incredible. But to do that, he's going to have to play his best game, and I think that team's going to have to play their best game.
You have a lot going on, Troy, but why is this Melanoma Just Got Personal campaign something that's important to you?
Well, I had melanoma in 1998. I was still playing. I was fortunate they caught it early, and they removed it, and no further treatment was required. But I partnered with Novartis on this awareness campaign, not so much to talk about skin cancer prevention in terms of limiting your sun exposure and getting checkups and things like that, but more for those, and I know there's a lot of them out there, those that are in advanced melanoma stages, and letting them know that there is more than one form of melanoma, which I did not know. And once you know what form you have, then you can treat it better and more effectively and give yourself the best chance of fighting it, because it is a tough opponent once it moves into the advanced stages.
People don't realize how dangerous it is. It's one of the worst killers of cancer.
Once it spreads, and if they catch it early, then it's very curable. But melanoma-justgotpersonal.com is the website. There's a wealth of information there, and I really encourage people who are either in the battle or know someone who is to go to the website melanoma-justgotpersonal.com and get caught up on what their options are. And I believe that lives are being saved by those that, and the response has been really, really good. And I think lives will be saved for those that do go and figure theirs out.
It is a mad crush here on Radio Row. It's good to catch a couple of minutes. I know you're real busy, but thanks so much for stopping by, Troy.
Great to be on with you.